I've been doing this for 10 years. This is the single best bonus I have ever seen by far, no questions asked. The Capital One Venture X for Business has a 400,000 point bonus right now from signing up. You do have to spend 150,000 in the first on the spend. Now you've earned 300,000 points on the 150K in spend. You could turn that 700,000 points into about $30,000 worth of travel through the points arbitrage system. The other factor, points are tax-free. Last year after we did the podcast, I went to propose to my fiance in Europe. We flew Emirates first class with a shower on the way over. We did the W Hotel in London, the Park Hyatt in Paris. The total trip would have been $50,000. If you use points, not only is the trip covered, but the taxes that you would normally pay is no longer an issue either.
Can you imagine like someone getting compensated with credit card points? The whole thing could be like a tax-free way to live.
I did get banned from Hilton for 1 year for exactly what you're describing.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So until this year, there was only a Chase Sapphire Reserve personal card. They just rolled out a business card a few months back, and it's killer. The reason it's so good is because so that's still not as good as transferring and points arbitrage, but it's way better than the generic way. We've redeemed over 1 billion points in the last 10 years for our clients.
All right, Eli, we should have been recording the whole time. Welcome back to the BetterWealth show.
It's good to be back, man. Let's rip it.
You were on about a year ago, and the title was How to Get Luxury Hotels and Flights for Free Using These Credit Card Hacks. This is one of my favorite conversations that we did in person in Austin, and you walked through the frameworks of how you think about credit cards. Highly recommend if you're just getting started on this journey. That's going to be like the 101 when it comes to credit cards. Today, we're looking at the new year. I want to know, what are the cards that we need to have? You even mentioned I can show someone in 60 seconds to put $30,000 back in their pocket based on certain credit card hacks. That's interesting. You also mentioned to me that if you're an entrepreneur, you should be considering using Payroll, putting it through credit cards. If you own a house, you can use you can pay your mortgage with a credit card. And if you're renting, you should be using a credit card for rent. Obviously, this is not financial advice, but if you are thinking entrepreneurially, this could be one of the most valuable episodes that you watch all year as it relates to the cards that you should be using, how and when. Eli, with that, don't leave me hanging, bro. Let's provide a ton of value on this conversation.
Well, let's just start with let's get right into it. Here's how you can get $30,000 worth of value from something you're already doing every day in about 60 seconds. Okay. Now I say 60 seconds because that's probably how long it's going to take me to explain this. And doing a credit card application is like a 60-second process. And before I actually get into it, I want to frame this entire conversation up, because when you zoom out and you think, what are credit card points about? There's different segments of what I call points people. And that changes how you should relate to even listening to this. So there's 4 buckets. The first bucket is someone who's just unaware and uninformed. And this person just doesn't know about points. They think it's a scam. They listen to Dave Ramsey. They don't understand the value of them. They are using cashback credit cards or debit cards or just generic points cards and never looked at it. And they think it's too complicated, whatever. So they don't even look at it. The next bucket is the DIY points hackers. Now, these are people, everyone that's writing the blogs, everyone that's doing this stuff on social media, pretty much everyone falls into this bucket. Now, here's what's important for you as a listener. If you're listening to this, you're probably someone who has a slightly higher value on your time. You probably maybe make a little bit more money, have a little bit less time than the average person, let's just say, because otherwise you wouldn't be in this conversation. And when you listen to someone that's a DIY points hacker that has spent thousands of hours nerding out on this stuff and is obsessed with getting a deal and is down to make 3 stops just to save some points, or is down to leave, in June instead of February to go to a place, what's going to be frustrating about reading that information online is you're going to read it and be like, this sounds complicated. This isn't for me. I don't have that level of flexibility. This is way too much. So what's going to happen, you're going to feel overwhelmed. And when you get overwhelmed, you just say, screw the whole thing. Right?
And Eli, you're explaining me. And if it wasn't for my wife, who is like into that stuff, I would be the cashback person. Just because it's so overwhelming. It sounds really cool and I want to get a deal, but the amount of time and energy, I don't actually think there's ROI when some of these people, the amount of time that they spend trying to save a buck, they're not creating value in the process. And so I see where that can be attractive, but I think I'm resonating with what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so you think of a spectrum, right? On the unaware, uninformed, and DIY side, there's usually like more time, less money on that end. And then on this end, it's more money, less time. So the third bucket after the DIY, and again, if you're reading information from a DIY person, you're like, well, I just, that's too much. It's too confusing. It doesn't work. I can't do it. Like, I get it. And that's the challenge. Where we position ourselves in the market is we're working with buckets 3 and 4. Bucket 3 is the 80-20 optimizers. These are people who are like, hey, I got a few trips, hey, I'm spending some money, help me optimize it. Just give me the best return. Let me get the best deals, the most savings, the best upgrades. Just like, let me optimize everything I'm doing. And that's a really good strategic place to be. And then bucket 4 is what I call the epic life maximizers. And these are people who are like, yo, I got some points. Life is short. What is the biggest, baddest, most incredible value I can get out of these? They want to maximize. It's not about saving a few bucks on a domestic flight, maybe not even getting about an upgrade. It's how do I take this credit card spend, these points, and how do I unlock that, that bucket list trip to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji in an overwater villa, flying first class with a bed on a plane and a shower on board? And how do I get that stuff off my bucket list? By using points. So depending on who you are, you should listen to not just this podcast, but anytime you listen to credit card points differently. And we really serve the buckets 3 and 4. So this conversation is going to be more guided towards the optimizers and the life maximizers, not like the hacker who's going to take 30 hours to save $100. That's not what we're going to have this conversation around. So that's some framing for you. So if that's helpful, I can then dive into how to do this $30,000 return.
Super helpful. Now I want you to put 30 grand in my pocket, man.
Let's go. So here's how it works. So right now, this is the single best bonus. I've been doing this for 10 years. This is the single best bonus I have ever seen by far, like no questions asked, the best bonus. Okay. So right now there's a card, the Capital One Venture X for Business. And by the way, I'm going to put a guide. You'll have a link, I'm sure, somewhere on the video. There's a guide we're going to give everyone for free that walks you through how to do this step by step, because it does get a little bit intricate to actually implement. With the guide, it makes it really simple, but the process is very simple. The Capital One Venture X for Business has a 400,000 point bonus right now from signing up. Okay. You do have to spend 150,000 in the first 6 months. So if you have a company with a team, or you're renting, you have, an office space, you have inventory, you have payroll, all these expenses that normally aren't on a card, you can put on a card by using the strategy I'm about to show you and hit that bonus. So that's going to be over the course of 6 months, you're going to hit your 400,000 point bonus by spending 150 grand. But because this card earns a flat 2x on everything, payroll included, anything you spend on, you have to spend 150 grand. So on the spend, now you've earned 300,000 points on the 150K in spend. So that totals to 700,000 points. Now, 700,000 points, if you do it the basic way, if you go directly through Amex, Chase, whatever the bank websites are, that's going to be worth about 7 grand. Now, for our team, we've redeemed over 1 billion points in the last basically up to 10 years for our clients. We're averaging around 4.5x the value. Okay. So if you took close to our averages, you could turn that to 700,000 points into about $30,000 worth of travel, right? Through the points arbitrage system we talked about last time, which I can go back into today. So you get the card. That's a 60-second application. You take the money you're already spending on payroll, you put it on this card, you hit the sign up bonus, you hit the 150,000 spend requirement, which gets you an extra 300,000 points. That unlocks 700,000 points. You use that for maybe a family of 4 going to Italy or Japan or something, business class round trip. That's going to be about $30,000 value. And that's how you take the money you're already spending and unlock about 30 grand out of that by just making a couple tweaks to how you're spending the money you're already spending.
I love it. I love everything about what you're saying. Talk to me about the fees that you get tacked on when you use it through with payroll, paying mortgage. I also know that there's other cards out there that you can pay rent. You don't necessarily have to pay additional fees. I just want to better understand that, because my analytical brain needs to factor that in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you should be factoring that in. And then I'll open a second loop here. There's the tax side of this too that we can talk about in terms of what this fee looks like. So,
which is a full write-off.
Full write-off. So, not a financial advisor. So do your due diligence, talk to your accountant, all that stuff.
I think it's pretty black and white, but yeah.
It is. I just like to just put the disclaimer out there. But, and this is all legal. It's completely legal. So from the standpoint of the fees, so in order to do this, you do have to use, if you're putting non-ordinary credit card expenses on a card like payroll, there is a 2.9% fee depending on which solution you use. There's several out there. There's, again, in my guide that we'll have in the link below, you guys are going to get it for free. It's normally like $100, but you guys will get it for free from here. But there's Zelle Money, there's PayPal, there's Plastique, there's Wise, there's Melio. There's a few different processors that allow you, even I think Bill.com allows it. There's a couple others that are coming out right now, but they allow you to basically say, okay, who are my employees or 1099s or vendors or whatever? You would load them into the system with their account details. So if you have a bookkeeper and admin, they could do this for you. They would put in their, ACH, wire, check info. And then basically there's a pay from account. It says, where do you want to pay from? Checking account or credit card. You just select credit card, you add your details in, it automatically gives you the fee when you process it. So off the rip, most people are like, well, that's stupid. I would never pay a fee to do that. However, what we need to think about as entrepreneurs and investors is not fees. We need to think about returns, right?
Yes.
So if you think about the fee, 2.9%, okay? If we're getting 2 points per dollar on the capital and venture expert business, then if you maximize those points and you get an average of, let's call it 4x the value, 2 cents per point times 4 cents for each point is 8% back on every dollar you spend. Okay. So I can break down the math if we need to, but if you get 2 points for every dollar you spend, and then from each point you earn, you get 4 cents for each point, or for simpler terms, 4%, that's going to be 8% back. So if you're paying 2.9%, but you're getting 8% back, you just got a 5.1% delta on your whatever that expense category is. That's massive. The other factor, points are tax-free. So if you were going to take a $50,000 vacation, like last year after we did the podcast, I went to propose to my fiance in Europe. We flew Emirates first class with a shower on the way over, in-flight shower for both of us. We did 10 nights in hotels. We did the W Hotel in London. We did the Park Hyatt in Paris. We did some other really nice hotels throughout in Switzerland and France. And the total trip would have been $50,000 between flights and hotels. We flew Virgin Retreat Suites on the way back, 50 grand, which is insane. I would never pay that. But if I did, I would have to take a distribution from my company, pay tax on that money to the government, right? Because it's not a tax write-off for most people, a vacation like that. So the effective cost of that, is basically 50,000 plus, let's call it 25%. So the effective cost of that vacation is now 62,500 to the business owner. So if you use points, not only is the trip covered, but the taxes that you would normally pay, like the average person would pay to take money out of their company, is no longer an issue either. What does that mean? That means money goes back into maybe hiring an assistant to free up your time to go live the lifestyle you want to go live more of. So back to the credit card on payroll thing, that 2.9% fee, a transaction fee, does come off of your business's P&L. So the fee is to the business, which is going to reduce your taxable income, but then the benefit is to you personally.
And it's
So
a
there's
tax-free
tax-free
benefit.
benefit. Yes.
For the last 6 years, we've made over 1,000 videos to change the narrative around money and life insurance and help our viewers live a wealthier, more intentional life. But my producer just told me something wild. 94% of you who subscribe to our channel haven't turned on the notifications. That means only 6% of you actually get told when we drop a new video. So whether you're brand new or one of our longtime subscribers, if any of our 1,000+ videos have helped you think differently or brought you value in any way, I'd love for you to hit that bell and turn on all notifications. We've got some incredible guests and conversations planned for 2026, and I don't want you to miss them. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, and I'm excited to keep growing with you. That's one of the reasons why I was fascinated about this whole points thing, because the credit card companies figured out a loophole to... It's remarkable, actually, when you think about the amount of energy that went into making this all can you imagine someone getting paid, compensated with credit card points, and if they knew what they were doing, it's the whole thing could be a tax-free way to live. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So
I have a funny story about that, by the way. So I got a funny story. We can come back to that later, but yeah, I did get banned from Hilton for 1 year for exactly what you're describing.
Oh, geez. Okay. We need to hear that. But yeah. What I did was, if you technically ran all 150 grand on payroll, we'll just say, so we're not assuming, sometimes you don't get any markup, you swipe your card and it's the same exact thing, whether it's a debit card or cash. But let's say that it costs you an additional 2.9%. That would come out, if you paid $150,000 on payroll, to $4,350 of extra cost that would cost you. You would get 300,000 points. I'm taking out the bonus just for right now, just from a apples to apples comparison. If you didn't know what you were doing and it was 1 cent per 1 point, that would be $3,000. So if someone doesn't know what they're doing, that would be we could go down the tax conversation, but at the end of the day, it would not be someone's not.
Does not make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Correct.
But if you're average 4 cents per point, that's an equivalent to a $12,000 benefit. So it's now you're telling me, and again, it's not tax advice, but you're getting $4,350 write off, very black and white. This is not one of these these strategies that are oh, the IRS going to come after you. No, it's pretty black and white. It's payroll, blah blah blah. Using a card, you get a potential $10,000 to $12,000 benefit. Oh, by the way, not taxable.
Bingo. Yes, that's if you use the right cards and do it decent. Now, this is why I was like, don't try it at home. Like, that's why I put the guide together, because so many people are trying to do this, and they're putting it on an Amex Platinum or like a Chase Ink card, and they're earning 1 point per dollar, and then they're going to the bank site and redeeming those points. The kind of the what I call it, it's like the trap the bank wants you to fall into. You nailed it. The banks, airlines, hotels are the single best corporations when it comes to gamification and customer loyalty, and knowing how to essentially design a system that feels winnable enough by the customer to get them to play, but profitable enough for the bank where it's very good for them long term. So if you use the wrong card and fall into the bank trap of just going directly to the travel portal, then you're going to end up overpaying for payroll and stuff like that, which you obviously should never do. So you really have to, the assessment for this is, am I even going to take enough trips? Because to get that value out of the points, you need to really be using these points mostly for big international trips like business and first class international trips. If you're doing only domestic travel, it can happen, but it's more difficult. I just want to be like completely transparent with all the listeners. I wouldn't advise it in that situation. The people who this is going to make sense for is, I have some international trips. I don't already have enough points to take those trips. Or this is a big one. If you're a business owner and you have employees and you want to incentivize them, what's going to be more motivating to them? A $10,000 end of year cash bonus, or you giving your employee the ability to say to his wife, hey, hon, I'm taking you to the Maldives. We're flying first class on Emirates. We're doing a week in the overwater villas, and putting him in a level of status within his relationship or family to create, whether it's Disney for the kids or Maldives with the wife, you gift them a trip on these points that's worth 50 grand, costs you nothing, but makes that person so unbelievably bought in, because you didn't just give them money, you change their identity of how they look in the people that love them the most. So that's like a whole other level of this.
We're going to see how many of my team members actually listen to my show.
Where's the trip, man?
Give me an email. I'll know exactly what that you're listening, and you just raised the bar. I totally agree. We did our first international company trip this last year. It was awesome. It was very much scratching the surface. We didn't fly first class. We didn't necessarily ball out, but it was just that alone was really fun and got me thinking about, like, you're totally right. Yes, there could be a small end of year bonus, but that travel and experiences go a long ways. And if you give someone the money, a lot of them won't necessarily spend it on that. But if you don't give them an option, like, it's something that, looking back, like, some of my greatest memories were experiences. And absolutely love this. If someone's not into travel, are points is it impossible to get point arbitrage if you're not into travel?
Pretty much. The only other option is there's the Amex Charles Schwab card, where you can convert your points into Charles Schwab and basically use it for investing. You get like 1.25 cents per point with that, so it's not awful, but that's your only other best play. Otherwise, you need to play the cash back game, or gift it to people that you could have.
Yeah, but all of those aren't bad, but you can't necessarily, like, you can't justify with the Charles Schwab card or even like Robinhood Gold card to do payroll, because it truly is you're not able to arbitrage. The reason why this is so powerful is you're able, because you know the rules of the game, are able to take 1 point and make it feel like 4 cents instead of 1 cent.
Exactly. And increasing the earnings on the front end too.
Yeah.
And for certain people, there are plays too, like if they are frequent travelers, where, because the airlines have changed a lot of the status requirements, where it's now more spend based than travel based. So like if you live in Atlanta or, Minneapolis or, Salt Lake, where it's a Delta hub, and you travel frequently, and getting diamond status can be useful. Well, I forget the exact requirement, but it's like 330,000 or something like that needs to be put on that card in order to hit diamond. You don't have to travel you don't have to get on a single flight anymore to hit that status. You have to spend your way there on the co-branded cards. So this could also be a way where if you wanted to get status, you could do that and put on a Delta card, so you get the status unlock and the points. You would just have to make sure that you're going to travel enough and use the benefits of that enough to recoup on the fee, because that's the math you need to think about there. So I always recommend the Capital and Venture X for Business is the best card, because it's 2 points per dollar on everything. They're valuable points. They have transfer partners. You can arbitrage the points. But those are really the two ways where the payroll conversation starts to make sense. If you're not in that bucket, then it's better to just stick to the normal stuff and not really think about this.
Okay. When we chatted last, you were a fan of the Platinum, not necessarily for spending, but for spending the minimum needed to be able to get all the benefits of the Amex Platinum. You're a fan of the Platinum Gold for actually spending. So instead of flexing with the Platinum, you really should be flexing with having the platinum, but using the gold to spend for
Correct.
going out. And then you also talked about the Chase Ink and then the Chase Sapphire
Mhm.
from a personal card. You just mentioned today the Venture X. Any other cards out there that people should be aware of? Any other deals or bonuses
Mhm.
going into 2026 that
Yep.
people should be aware of?
Yeah. So the banks, what's cool about the gamification is because these banks are all competing for customer loyalty. When one bank makes a big move or big splash in the market, you usually see within 1, 2, 3 to 6 months, another bank make a move in a similar direction. So whether it's perks that are unlocked, transfer partners that they add or take away, um, or just like benefits to cards, you see some of these premium cards, like the annual fees keep climbing up and up and up, but the benefits get really big with them if you use them well. So I'm still a big fan with the Amex Business Platinum for the exact reason that we just talked about. In fact, after our podcast last year, one of the hotels we did stay at, where I actually proposed, was called the Schwarzkopf Hotel in Lucerne, Switzerland. So this hotel is a beautiful hotel. Switzerland's a very expensive place. So if you want to get a nice suite there, it's several $1,000s per night. Add in the holiday season, it's expensive. But because of the Fine Hotels and Resorts perk with the Business Platinum, I applied, I just used that card. I then called in and asked for the upgrade in a strategic way. There's a certain kind of script you want to use for that. I could talk about that, how to hack upgrades. But we got the upgrade to a suite worth $3,000 per night for 2 nights. So it's a $6,000 suite off of just one benefit from one card. So yes, that Amex Business Platinum is an $890, I think $795 or $895 fee now. But you're getting, if you use that one benefit well, $3,000, $4,000, $6,000 back just off of the one perk. So that aside, that's a card I still really like. The Venture X for Business is a great premium card for people that have high expenses on non-category bonuses. So not ads, not software, not like other kind of normal bonuses, travel, dining, things like that. But the new card, the new one that's come out this year that's a game changer, is the Chase Sapphire Reserve for Business. So until this year, there was only a Chase Sapphire Reserve personal card. They just rolled out a business card a few months back, and it's killer. The reason it's so good is because it's specifically really good for people with high ad spend and high travel purchases. The reason for that is, to date, let's just say you had ad spend. There were cards like the Amex Business Gold that got 4 points per dollar on ads, and the Ink Preferred, which gets 3x on ads, but they both had a cap at 150,000 per year. So if you had high amounts of ad spend, you either had to stack multiple of those cards or put a second card on afterwards to kind of, do a second tier right there. But now the Chase Sapphire Reserve for Business is 3 points per dollar, no cap on all ad spend. So that's a huge upgrade. So if you spend a lot on ads, that's a card that's unbelievable. And it has some great perks. They created something new called Points Boost this year, which allows you to unlock your points and get 2 cents per point, which is double the standard value just by going through Chase Travel. So that's still not as good as transferring and points arbitrage, but it's way better than the generic way. And so if you're doing nice hotels or even some international like business and first class flights, you can use the Points Boost and get 2x. So
Wow.
if you spent on ads, this is cool. Let's do some math real quick. If you spend on ads and you use Points Boost, your new floor for return on spend, aka think of it like equivalent to cash back, your new floor is now 6% back on everything. Because 3 points per dollar on ads and 2 cents per point with Points Boost equals 6% return. So if you spend 100
that
grand
is,
a month on ads, that's 6 grand a month back.
yeah, that's incredible. Is there any reason why someone would have the Ink knowing that there's a Sapphire Business?
Yeah, you don't spend that much because the Ink is the same amount of points, but it's a $150 cap, but it's only a $95 annual fee. And then the Reserve for Business, I can't remember. I have to look it up. I think it's like $600 a year.
Okay, so you would recommend having both?
Well, only if you spend over like 12K a month on ads, then Sapphire Reserve for Business is for you. If it's less, then the Ink Preferred would be for you.
Okay, so another way to say that is you would not recommend the Sapphire for Business. You wouldn't recommend that card unless you are running ads, a large ad budget.
That's the main thing, or high amounts of travel because the 3x will apply there. And then also the points boost factor is really good with the Sapphire Reserve Business, and the Ink Preferred is going to be different. So
Okay.
if you're doing a lot of travel in luxury hotels or flights where you just want to have like a better way to do it that's simpler, that's still not fully maxed, that would be a decent option for you.
Okay, man, you're blowing my mind. You mentioned earlier that you had a funny story. Do you remember what that was going to be?
Yeah. So you were asking about, this whole points economy. I mean, it's a multi-billion dollar economy. If you think about this, um, this point system, these banks and airlines and hotels, they know what they're doing. These are not like dumb institutions, right? So their whole game is to basically get you to get their cards and use their points to redeem them poorly and to have you thank them for it. And for them to be like, oh, you're so lucky. But there is a way to gamify it. They've created a system where there's people like me out there and all the other kind of DIY points hackers, if you will, that have decoded this stuff. They make it so complicated that the average person will never get it. But there are people who will, which keeps the rest of the herd excited. So that's kind of the game. That's why we created what we created, is because it was too confusing for most people. So we're like, let's just guide people through it and do it for them. But the opportunity always has to be there. Otherwise, the banks start to lose their competitive edge with each other, and then they lose their customer base. So they have to stay out in the forefront. But within this points economy, you're like, wow, people could just like buy and sell points and trade them around and do all that. So here's the deal. There are ways to pool points and to transfer them that's completely above board and all that. Now, I had helped someone out with something several years back when I was first starting out. And he was like, hey, man, can I just send you some points for it? Can I pay you in points? And I was like, yeah, I mean, like, let's go through the list. Have you done this, this, or this, or this? He lied to me. So he said, no, I haven't done this, this, or this. Like, it was the amount of points that he pooled. And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, here's my account, sent it to me. I was doing the math and I was like, this is going to be great. Like, I'll get a bunch of points from it. And he was a friend. And what he did is he went on to basically this like black market points site, bought points from someone who was brokering them, and then had that person send points. He bought them for himself too, to him and me. He bought them at a discount. So he thought he was being smart. But Hilton and every other bank and hotel program and airline, they have these fraud detection alerts. And when one account has like excessive activity of pooling or sharing points, it sets off the alerts. So my account and his account got shut down. And I called him. I was like, dude, what the hell did you do? I was like, I asked you all this stuff and you basically just lied to me. He's like, oh, I thought I was being smart. I'm so sorry. And he's like, wait, my account's banned too. And I was like, God damn it. so I was like, never again am I doing that. That was just a lesson from the universe of like, dude, just play, just charge people normal money. And, if you're going to help out a friend, like don't do a trade like that. So there's a business lesson in that, which I'm very grateful for because it was only, wasn't that big of a deal. But fortunately, I had some connections and I have some internal contacts at Hilton. And I got my account back. It took about 8 months. But I don't stay with Hilton a ton anyways, but it was a funny story and a good lesson. For him, I don't know if he ever got his account back, to be honest with you.
Do most people get, if you buy points from a broker, will you get shut down? Like, what do they just find new people to take advantage of? It doesn't sound like a very good business model if you're selling points. Like, you're almost selling points knowing it's a scam?
Yeah, I advise it completely against it. It's very shady. That's not anything we do or I recommend or condone. Because oftentimes the people you're dealing with are kind of like, it's a Telegram group and like, who is this? You don't even know.
Yeah.
So like there are people who do that. There is like a black market for points. I don't really know much about it other than the fact that like it exists and people can buy and sell points. And yeah, but those fraud detection alerts can come on. You don't know when they're coming. And oftentimes if you do it, it's like a lifetime ban. They claw back all the points you have and then you're gone forever. So I'm like, I don't want to mess with any
how
of the
do you
big
avoid
banks.
that if you're going to do it? You mentioned like for your team members or employees or your friends.
Sure.
I know in the past that we've blessed some people with trips and all. Is that different? Like transferring that, like is the best way to buy it for them or to transfer them the points? Like how I'm sure you've done something like that as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let me delineate. So this is like, you're buying from like some person in a Telegram group who's like, yo, I'll sell you these United miles for this price. Like that's let's call it gray area or black area, right? Above board is you buying points directly from a site, which can be very lucrative and very valuable if you do it right. Gifting points for people, or even using your own points to book trips for someone else, or transferring them your points directly with the above board policy. So like if you have an employee and you were going to book a trip for them, there's two ways to do it. Either A, like let's say you were going to points transfer, you would go from Caleb's Amex account to Caleb's Air Canada account and book the ticket through your Air Canada account, but in their name. So their name's on the reservation, but it's booked through your mileage account. Totally fine. You can do that a few times. If you had like 50 tickets for the same person, like their name under your account, that would definitely become a gray area. But a few tickets, no issues at all. And then the other option is going to be, you could add them as an employee card, and then you could transfer your points directly into their Air Canada account. Each bank works a little different with those kinds of rules, but that's the general rule of thumb. If they're an employee or like a household partner or whatever, you can transfer points from you to them directly as well. They could just book through their own loyalty account. That's all completely above board.
But if I wanted to be a good friend to you and just be like, yo, I want to give you 100,000 points, there's really no way to do that for me just transferring it over to your account, or is there a way for me to actually transfer like my Chase or Amex points into your Chase or Amex
Yeah,
account?
most banks, no. There are some programs where you can do that and it's fine. There's one that just came out with a new pooling points option that's like that. I think it's actually Capital One might have just changed their policy. So, but majority of the time, you can't just like send me your Amex points or anything like that. You'd have to either add me as an employee card, transfer it to your account and book a ticket in my name, or go to like, let's say you wanted to gift me 100,000 American miles, you have to go to their site and buy them. Like for my team, because we have a culture of one of our first values is do what makes you come alive. So it's like, I want a team that's living what we teach. I don't want people who are just like, know this stuff but don't do it. So half our team's in Austria right now, one's in Hong Kong, the other's in South America, like traveling a lot. So some of the bonuses I give are points. And so I'll do that exact same thing. So I would either transfer it to their account or recently I just bought a team member. She hit some goals. I was like, hey, I'm going to buy you like $2,000 worth of points. But to her, that, because she knows how to use them, is worth like 10 grand.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of upside there.
Cool. Lots of different areas. I want to touch on the Bilt card, just get your thoughts on it. It sounds to me, and you probably know more than I do, that the Bilt card doesn't charge a fee for paying rent.
Correct.
And they're getting into mortgages, which is interesting. Yeah. But it's my also understanding that it's not a travel card, but it still is like, it's like one of those like, hey, if you're not necessarily into traveling, why wouldn't you use a credit card to pay for rent? And it just boggles my mind unless there's a hidden fee that I don't know about. Do you know how those work?
If you're a high income earner or own a successful business, you're already creating real value in the world. The real question is, are you keeping that money, protecting it, and growing it the way that actually supports your long-term goals? At BetterWealth, we help people like you better keep, protect, and grow their wealth through various tax strategies, estate planning, specially designed life insurance, retirement planning, and even a fractional family office service. If you're interested in one or more of the areas we can serve and want to learn more, the next step is to book a free clarity call with us. Click the link in the description or tag comment below to get started. Back to the video.
So Bilt is a really interesting program that everyone should be paying attention to what they do in the credit card and banking space, as well as the points and travel space over the next 2 to 3 years. I've gotten some kind of behind closed doors info about what they're rolling out. So like some things I can't share yet, but from the rent card, it's actually a fantastic card if you rent, because you do get to put rent on with no fees. And the way that it works is those points actually can transfer. They have great transfer partners. One of the beauties of them is they're actually I think the only program that you can transfer points now 1-to-1 to Alaska. And Alaska has probably the single best award pricing chart out of any airline. So they're in the One World Alliance. So, booking tickets to Japan on Japan Airlines, American Airlines flights, British Airways, flying Qatar, flying Alaska, of course. There's some other ones, Qantas and stuff like that. Those are all really, really good value by booking through Alaska, but it's hard to usually earn Alaska miles unless you have an Alaska card or now a Bilt card. So Bilt does have transfer partners, which gives you that arbitrage value to be really great. So if you use the points well, you could be basically getting like 3, 4, 5% back on rent, which is amazing. But yeah, the way that their program works is they're actually becoming a little bit more of like an ecosystem. So the card was like Bilt's first big play into the scene, but they're really creating an ecosystem that's a lot more than just a credit card. And you're right about the mortgage piece. They are coming out with something in 2026 that is supposed to allow you to put your mortgage on the card and earn points, just like the rent side. I don't understand the entire economics behind the model of how that works profitably for them, but they're seemingly able to do it in a way that no other bank is. I think part of it is because they don't have all the bloat that traditional banking institutions do, right? They don't have like, all these old ways of doing things. So I think they saw the opportunity in the market and were able to move faster than most traditional banks are. So it's a really cool company. And they're actually backed by.
They're meeting with they're trying to be on both sides of the transaction because they're going with property managers as well. At least that's my understanding. I talked to someone recently who's not necessarily into the credit card space, but they were like, yeah, our landlords told us to switch over and it's actually saving us money to do it. And we get points. So it's like a no-brainer, but there's a reason. There must be some type of incentive, whether it's convenience. Another thing that was mentioned, and you'll have to validate this, but it was it was auto pay. Whereas before, like you had to like manually pay. And so if you're looking from a business perspective, if you're like, hey, would I potentially even charge more for auto pay rent versus having
Mm,
someone having to like pay their like that
right.
alone could be a huge deal breaker and a massive value for a property manager. So
Yeah.
just a thought. It'll be interesting. Do you think that the mortgage side will have a fee tied to it, or do you think it will be the same as the rent and there
Mhm.
no additional fees?
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to the rent where there's going to be no additional fees because right now you could do the mortgage thing that I just described with the Capital and Venture X. There's a Venture X for business and a Venture X personal. They both earn 2x on everything. So even if it was like your home mortgage, you could still do that and still get the return. The tax side isn't a factor on the personal piece because it's already a personal card and a personal expense. But I think that that wouldn't be that innovative in the space. It would be more if they allow the mortgages to be put on without a fee. That's I think what they're probably going to do is it might be like a primary residence only. Like if you're like an investor and you have like 15 properties, I don't think they're going to allow you to put like 15 properties on the Bilt card and earn on all of those. Maybe they would, or maybe the first one has no fees and the rest have fees. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but yeah,
We,
there's some bigger plays behind the scenes. I think they're making too.
it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
Um, it'll be very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see. And what will be fun is other companies like Chase, like Amex, potentially getting into that space. That's going to be a fun
Yeah.
world for you to start analyzing and all. It's what's interesting is there's an insurance company, Penn Mutual, that you can pay your first year premium on a credit card.
Oh, cool.
I just bought more life insurance on myself, and it was just crazy around that. But then year two, you switch over to ACH and all. But I bet you that at Venture X you could pay your big premiums with a credit card if you did. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously there'd be that extra fee,
Yep.
but that could be another way on the personal side to get massive spend. Now, I'm
Yes.
gonna validate this after this conversation, but I mean, some of our clients are putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into life insurance, almost getting all of that liquid,
Yep.
protecting their family. There's so many other benefits.
Yeah.
Using a credit card, yes, like you have a 2.9% fee, but if you understand point arbitrage, that you're just getting my mind going here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly it. Yeah, your insurance policy could also pay for your vacations.
Yeah, that's yeah. Moving on, you talked about a script on how to upgrade. I would
Hmm.
just love to get that
Yeah.
out of your brain.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll share it, but basically there's certain things in the travel and points game where there's certain strategies or hacks, if you will, um, that are a little outdated. And then there's some that are kind of just like the tried and true, like, good stuff. So a lot of things are about, transferring points and certain deals and airlines like you used to book Emirates first class directly through transferring points to Emirates. That's since changed. And so you have to keep up with some of those. But then there's some things which is like, this is a little bit outside of like a points hack. It's more of a travel strategy. And so with this one, what you're going to do is if you book through a luxury travel advisor, which those still can be very relevant for people. A lot of people are like, who are the travel agents these days? It can still be really good. Like we have some of our clients we internally have a team of travel advisors. So like if someone has a big trip and it's a non-points hotel, like a really luxury hotel, if they book through them, they get all sorts of perks and upgrades. If you book through them, or you use one of those, or you have elite status, that should entitle you to potential upgrades, or you book through something like Fine Hotels or Resorts, or like, Chase has their new thing called the Edit Collection, which is very similar. With those, you're basically getting status-like perks without having status. So if you do that right, you basically are going to look at the exact dates you're going to the hotel, and you're going to find, let's say it's Friday to Sunday. I'll just use them in an average example. Obviously, if you're doing an international trip and you're going like midweek, the odds of this are higher because there's less demand for suites and upgrades during midweek than the weekends. But let's just say you're going Friday to Sunday and it's Wednesday. So what you're going to do is you're going to use some influence skills that you probably have learned already as a business owner or an investor and someone who's just a high performer. And you'll call the front desk, talk to the reservations team, and you're basically going to have, before you call, look at the suites that are a category above what you currently booked and see what's available for those specific dates. Ask them for the specific room, but you always want to have a reason. So think about them, right? They're working all day. They're probably just going through humdrum activity. Their job, though, is to make you a raving fan of that hotel. Like they know that, especially at the nicer hotels. Like it's very obvious. So you would make it really easy for them to make you really happy and to tell them that. So you would call and say, "Hey, I'm coming. The 7th to the 10th. It's my fiance and I, we're about to get married, or it's my wife and I's anniversary, or it's a big celebration. You need to have a reason, have a celebration, a milestone, a birthday, something." She doesn't know about it. if you could help me pull this off, this upgrade would blow her mind. It would make our trip so amazing. We're a huge traveler. We love this brand. We're super loyal, like whatever all the stuff is. Probably no chance, maybe some Chris Voss, probably no chance that suite would be open for us when we get there, right? Just wanted to call and see.
And you don't
We've been
tell
eyeing it
them
up.
that you know it's open.
Well, you could say that. I do say, like,
Okay.
"Hey, I was just doing some quick checking on the web." I don't want to sound like entitled, like, give me the
Yeah.
suite, because that's not good. But I was doing some quick checking. I saw that this junior suite with the view was somehow still open. Probably no chance if we come in 2 days that there's any way we get that upgrade. I mean, I just want to check, like, if it's possible. My wife is going to lose her mind. We're going to be so happy. We're going to like come back all the time. You do the whole thing.
Yes.
And if you do that, the odds of you actually getting the upgrade you want, not just an upgrade, the upgrade you want, go up like 10x. Okay. This isn't like slip a 20 at the check-in kind of thing. It's a little bit more, make it super easy for them. Tell them the one you want, give them a reason. You need to call a couple days before, do the homework for them. And if you do that, the odds are pretty solid that you'll get a decent upgrade if you booked with a way where you should be getting upgrades. If you're just Joe Schmo and you call in, probably not likely. But if you have elite status or you book through Amex or Chase or Travel Advisor, your travel advisor should be doing this for you if you have one of them. But if you do the other ones, then you could do it on your own. And I even have my assistant do it sometimes. And like with that, I'll be like, and it would be even better. Could you, like, if there's any way to put a little surprise in the room for my wife or fiance or whatever, they love getting in on the surprise, especially at the nice luxury hotel. So it's a great move because that will unlock several $1,000s of additional value on top of the perks you're already getting.
And it's fun being your friend. I'm actually genuinely happy for you. I'm not like the jealous person looking at your stories. You practice what you preach, and you've practiced what you preach. I'll just say that. If you want good social proof, follow Eli on Instagram and just follow his life. I'm living through you, my friend. Couple things. I know this is what you do. Like, you guys have a whole company that does this. And so I would love for you to break down like how people can learn more. I know you have a free gift. We'll make sure that that's in the description. Anything else that you want to mention before you talk about your company, Eli? This has been great. It's amazing how time flies. I don't know if you have a hard stop, but I want to be respectful of your time.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a few more minutes for sure. And I think one of the things that I like to just talk about big picture is really the purpose of why this matters, and like thinking about, your company and why we vibe so well on our aligned missions. It's because you really need to be thinking about like quality of life and memories and experiences. And what are you going, like, one of my favorite questions is, what would future me rather not regret? Like, if you're thinking about decisions and prioritization, going for future-based regret is a really good way to get clear on what actually matters now. Because if you don't do that, the amount of people I talk to, Caleb, where it's like, I talked to them in 2021 about a card, and they're like, oh, I just forgot, I didn't get it yet. Oh, how have your trips been? I've just been grinding the business. We haven't really had the time yet. I'm like, bro, it's been 4 years. Like, it needs to be a standard for you to take a trip. So I actually came up with a framework that I'd love to share with you. And I'm writing a book about this right now, about what I call experiential wealth. So this is basically like similar to the die with zero philosophy that Bill Perkins has. Think of that, where it's like, what are the memories and experiences you want to create, and how should you plan them? Because if you're an entrepreneur or investor, like, it's so easy for business and for financial goals or targets to become the obligation, the only thing you focus on. But then you lose sight of why you're actually doing it. It's like, you want the money. Why? Not just to have a big pile of cash. You want it so you can have an epic life. You want amazing experiences. You want deep relationships. You want fulfilling memories. You don't want a bank account with a shit ton of zeros and you being old and like you didn't share any memories with your kids. Like, that is not what you want. That's the anti-example of what all of us want. So yeah, I could dive into this framework, but I think this is a really important piece for people to grasp, because without this, the rest can just feel like, okay, that's cool, get a trip, but you need to have a bigger life framework for how you think about like how much you're fulfilling your experiential wealth.
Is there more to that framework? Because I by the way, I have a short life clock to my left that reminds me that I'm going to die, and I'm also just going to. This is the first time I'm going to share this on.
Let's go. Let's see it. Let's see it.
This is something I've been working on for myself, and it's something I'm going to roll out very soon. This is why you and I get along so well. This is a plaque, my name with boxes. Each box represents a year of my life. This red box represents just mortality at the time of this recording for my age, and then my favorite Bible verse. And it's
Cool.
It's just a great reminder that I'm going to die someday, and to start procrastinating on the things that I want to do. So it's so interesting. I have one
Yeah.
life behind me on my
Yeah.
license plate. I have one life. It's just like I'm constantly reminding myself that life is very short. And I also utilize the regret framework from a
Yeah.
standpoint of like, would my 85-year-old self, like, what would they regret more?
Right.
And even the biggest mistakes I've made, and I've lost money, and there's been dumb things that I've done, I actually I've never regretted any of those. Like
Totally.
we could actually talk because I actually think when people say they have no regret, that's being dumb. So I actually take back what I just said. There are lessons, regrets that I have, in those. But as I
Sure.
look back on like the actual taking shots, I've never regretted like swinging and taking shots. And yes, I've had many lessons along the way. But I'm very, very grateful for making moves and not playing it safe. And sometimes my default is conserve, play it safe. And then I look and
Yes.
be like, oh, I've already lived like 38% of my life, maybe, hopefully not, but around that. It's like, and it went pretty fast. You know what I'm
It's only
saying?
going faster. Yeah.
So anyways, I just wanted to I don't share that much, but it's just like, I just can, I love that framework. And is there anything more to the experiential?
There is more. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think like there's that book, 5 Regrets of the Dying, where like 2 of the top 5 regrets are, I wish I allowed myself to enjoy life more. And I wish I hadn't worked so hard. And that's from like ordinary people, not psychos like you and I who are like hustling to build businesses. You know what I mean? So like just having those priorities, I think is so important. And the death awareness, mortality stuff, like my fiance, she's like, that's definitely just like a man thing. Cause like, I don't connect to that at all. Maybe it is, I don't know. But for me, it's so powerful because if you don't link the brevity of your experience, like I had a friend pass away this year, 51 years old. I talked to him last December when I was getting engaged, and he was like, dude, so excited for you. Congrats. We used to work together and we traveled the world in my last company together, running events for kids all across the planet. And he got diagnosed with lymphoma in January. And I didn't know because we don't catch up that much anymore. But I got a text from his wife in August this year saying, hey, sorry to inform you, like really terrible news. Simon passed away. He had cancer. He was battling it. I don't know if you knew. Here's his obituary. I need to book a call with you to figure out what to do with the 2 million credit card points that he hasn't used. Like, let that sink in. That's a metaphor for life. I mean, it's a practical thing. Like these points don't get more valuable over time. But I had talked to him for years about, dude, I'm going to save the points for a big family trip someday. And like, he still lived really well and he put his family in a beautiful position. So no disparagement to him. I just know that I was very good friends with him for a while. I know he would be excited about this message just being shared with people to not freaking wait, because you don't know. You don't know. And so now his wife that is left has their 5-year-old son, and it's just her. And now she's going to Mexico with just the 2 of them basically. And it's like, man, so it's a whole thing. But to bring some more levity back to this, the framework, if you want to think about not being in a position where there's regret at the end, or you want to be in a position, if you want to use more pleasurable views, is being 20 years down the line and talking about all the memories you created. Here's the Experiential Millionaire framework. So you take 1 trip per quarter. This is a 5 to maybe 10 day getaway. Maybe for some of you it's 3, for some it's 7, for some it's 10. And you're doing this as a quarterly reset. This is to unwind. This is to reflect on the last quarter. This is to set new goals, to give a reset, to give yourself that energy to get clarity, because all of our best ideas come from when we're clear in a way and unplugged, not when we're like so in the weeds. And so you as a founder get to do that, and you get to have a mini adventure, okay? A mini vacation. That's 4 per year, 1 per quarter. Then 1 time per year, you do a big bucket list trip. This is a 2, 3, maybe even a month-long adventure. And I challenge everyone listening to this. This is going to scare some people, and that fear means it's probably a good thing. To do it where you completely step away. 2 weeks, completely offline. Now, why are we doing this? It's not just to be having cool lifestyle vacation mode. Think about this. If you want to sell your company, what's more valuable? A company that runs without you, or a company where you're the bottleneck? Well, if you have to step away for 2, 3, 4 weeks, you have to let the company run without you. You don't have a choice. So these vacations, not only are they good times to get clarity to actually fulfill your purpose with your family and your relationships and to check off bucket list adventures, but they also get to be a forcing function for you to become a better delegator and for you to build a systemized machine that can run without you, because otherwise you don't really have an asset, right? So I've done this multiple times where I've taken time away and shit imploded. And a lot of times that people would come back from that, and the meaning they would make is vacation's not a good idea. Can't do it. Things break. That's the wrong meaning to make. The right meaning is great. That's feedback. Here, let's fix it. Can't wait for the next 90 days to take a week off and see what happens on that one and see if it gets better. And I did that last year. This year I did a kiteboarding trip in Egypt where I took a week off completely. I didn't even have cell signal. We were on the Red Sea, like with 40 entrepreneurs, and it was killer. We had the best week of our year during when I was completely offline. I came back and I was like,
Incredible.
oh my God. I was like, I need to take more vacations. So if you do one quarterly trip per year, one trip per quarter, one trip per year over the next decade, that's going to be 48 mini adventures and 10 bucket list adventures. And if you use points for it, you should be saving around 10 to 15K per quarter, and then 40 to 60 grand on the annual. It's 100K saved per year. So over the next decade, you saved $1 million in travel experiences. You've created 48 mini vacations and getaways, and you create 10 bucket list experiences. That's a recipe where there is just no chance in hell you'd look back and have any sense of regret of having lived a full life. So that's my experiential millionaire framework that people can adapt and use. And the key thing to make it work is you have to schedule your time away and your vacations and your family time first. Yeah, it's got to be priority number one. Everything else works around that. And that's a whole other conversation around why people can't do that. But that's my framework that I want to leave people with before I share a little bit about how they can get more resources from us.
And that's well thought through, and it's convicting because I'm for sure more of the opposite of what you just mentioned the last 3 minutes. And yeah, I'd go back to growing with intentional constraints is valuable. Like if you give yourself a day to finish something, you'll get it done in a day. And most people spend a whole quarter and they could get it done in a week. And so like there's that, but this is a constraint that you're putting on that will actually, like, the result is you're going to be more successful. And there's so many other benefits, including the health benefit of unwinding and relaxing. Thank you for sharing that. I made a joke about my team watching this. I'm gonna know for a fact if my wife watches this because I think
Kelly, where's the quarterly trip?
Yeah,
I thought we were supposed to be in Aruba right now. What are you doing in your office?
I do appreciate this, and this is why I'm grateful for you as a friend. Anything else you want to say before you unpack just what you guys do for people?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, my message is just like, I think what you just shared, last thing I'll say is there's a difference between a trip and an adventure. And I think that there's like a Helen Keller quote, some of the stuff we're talking about, it feels somewhat cliche, but it's just so true. It's like, it was, life is either a grand adventure or nothing at all. And it's like the difference between a trip and an adventure is a trip, you're just going from A to B and you're just trying to get there as quickly as you can. An adventure is like an exhilarating step into the unknown where you're like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm going to do it because I feel called and pulled and I want to. And when you live your life based off of that energy, like you're not confined by spreadsheet numbers, right? You're not like, this is what I can do. It's okay, here's what I want to do. How do I now make it work? And I think that flip has been game changer for me in terms of how I feel in my life and the enjoyment and the aliveness I feel. And I want to share that with people. So that's the last thing I'll leave people with before we wrap.
So if someone's listening to this and they're not part of, the optimizer where they want to spend 20 to 100 hours like you and other psychos studying all the ins and outs, but they want to optimize or they want to maximize their situation. Obviously, companies like yours exist.
Yep.
I'll just give you a quick testimonial. You've always been great helping, myself, helping us have incredible experiences. And so I can speak for you. You've been amazing that way. And I know that you're amazing because you do this day in and day out for so many people. So if someone's wanting to learn more just about your business, tell me a little bit about how you guys operate and how can people get connected with you if it resonates with them.
For sure. Yeah, we have a different level of offers. We have things that go up all the way up to like $50,000, like our super premium invitation only stuff. But our main offers are a lot less than that. It's basically a points concierge. So think of a done for you points concierge that can take your existing spend and turn them into your dream trips. So what we do is we'll help optimize the cards you have to get you the highest return on spend based on your specific spend and your specific goals. Because even if we had the same businesses and same travel goals, but we live in two different cities, like I'm now in Denver, you're in Nashville, we're going to have different cards because here I need like Chase cards to transfer to United. You don't need that. And vice versa. Or two people in Denver that have different businesses still need different cards. So we optimize that. We look at the status, the perks, the benefits. We're looking for one of our core values in the company is simplicity. How do we get the most leverage? from the least amount of changes to make, because people with multiple companies, they're doing investing, they need their credit really clean. We factor in all that. We just do it for them. Then we help plan the big trips and actually redeem those points, create the itinerary experience, help select the best experiences, and actually maximize those points for the trips. That's where we're getting that average of like 5x the value. So simply putting that is, if you get 1 million points and you go to Amex, you're going to get 10 grand. We on average are turning into about $45,000 to $50,000 worth of travel. So that's one business class trip versus a family of 5 going from the same points. So that's what we do for the people in the concierge level. And we have different tiers in that depending on how much they spend in travel. And then we have more of that like 80-20 optimizer plan, which is our private membership and advisory. So people get access to our team, they get guidance, we'll help them search for their own trips, quick advice. That's just helping people shortcut and optimize what they're doing. And it's less of a concierge, and it's more like you asking an expert quick questions, so you don't have to spend time going down rabbit holes on your own and getting confused and lost. So those are 2 levels.
I'm sure you guys are probably going to have Eli AI here soon that I'll be like, what would Eli do? Hey.
Yeah. I've been working on Eli Travel AI because I'm an Eli Travel guy. So there's that coming potentially too. But for now, those are the 2 ways to get access to us. And
cool.
And then the social media stuff is free on that, of course.
Yeah, we'll include your social media and any other links that you want. And then also, you've been super generous and you're going to give our audience some free resources that they would have had to pay for otherwise. And so thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. All that will be down below. Eli, anything else that you want to end with? This has been a true joy and very inspiring.
Awesome, man. Yeah, just the resources, guys. Here's what you're going to get. So you'll get the CEO Points Playbook. So this is something I put together, normally sells for like $150. You're going to get it for free. And this is like a guide of a lot of the stuff I explained in the last episode and this one, where it walks you through a little more step-by-step, just the whole process here. Custom wrote it. If you want to throw it into your GPT and use it, you could try. I would advise you not to use GPT too much for this stuff. It gives you a lot of like hallucinations and fake things that aren't good. And it can't do like live point searching. So reference the guide. Then the payroll on a credit card guide is how you do the whole step-by-step, which card to get, how to set it up, how to pay it, all that. There's a video in there. That's free as well. So those are a couple of the resources you'll get. And then on that page, if you do want to either inquire about our concierge services or just join our membership community, that's month to month, there'll be links on there if you want more help too. So those are all there for you. And that's what I've got for you today, man.
Eli, you did not disappoint, my friend. Thank you for living up to my intro. And with that, appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for having me on.